Hi everyone, welcome to our usual weekly Q&A. And I'm here today with Coach Daniel. Coach Alina couldn't attend today. She is a little bit sick, so we wish her all good health. And we will see her next time. So I'm happy Coach Daniel had a chance to join us. How are you, Daniel, today?
All good, Veronika, and it was actually like very nice you asked me to join. I was like pondering what am I going to do right now, and I was like, I can join a live. It felt like, I don't know. I was excited about it. It felt really nice to be able to kind of connect with the community and hopefully provide something helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great. And so I think we can start. And actually, I would like to start with something that I came to with one of my clients on bedtime. And he was wondering, like, why is it like when he suffers from insomnia, he's not yawning? And it's interesting because he enjoys his yawning. He enjoys stretching and yawning. And, like it's such a good feeling when you can have a good yawn, so to say. So I did a little bit of research and I came up with something interesting. So yawning is clearly associated with sleeplessness and boredom. However, almost paradoxically, it is theorized that yawning is not a sign of sleepiness or boredom, but actually a reflex that your brain induces to wake you up or make you more alert. Yawning is associated with some hormones that are released that briefly increase the heart rate and alertness. So actually, the reason that one yawns when tired or bored is the body's attempt to keep you alert and awake, if only for a brief time. Supposedly, this is an evolutionary response related to a time where if one were asleep or inattentive, something bad might happen to you. So in this regard, yawning is clearly a signal from your brain to keep you alert, which you basically don't need when you are hyper-aroused, when you suffer from insomnia. So I found it really interesting. What do you think, Daniel? Are you a yawn person?
Yeah, I yawn. I enjoy my yawns too, and I think this is a very interesting topic because it has come up for me several times. Coaching wise, and now the explanation you found is very different from how I think of yawning or how I interpret yawning. Right? I always think of yawning as like a social cue more than anything else. That
I see.
we're kind of a social animal, right? And you see like cats and lions and stuff that yawn too. And to me, I've always thought it as like a signal to other members of the tribe that I'm at ease. I'm like kind of relaxed. I'm just like, and I think to me, that's why like yawns are contagious. Other people are like also yawning. You yawn to sign like, yeah, I'm also kind of just like chilling out or something like that. But like regardless of like the evolutionary role of yawning, it's clear that in our field, when sleep coaching, it's not uncommon that somebody says, I'm not yawning anymore. I haven't yawned in a while. Or this one has come up too for a couple times for me. Somebody's like, I start to yawn, but then it's interrupted. I can't like complete my yawn, And to me, I always thought of it as just another way that we experience hyperarousal, like when we're alert and vigilant, then it's not time for yawning. Like our body's kind of like,
right,
be alert as it is, right? And also like that interrupted yawn, it reminds me so much of like the interrupted falling asleep process. When we're about to drift off, and they're like, I'm about to fall asleep, and they're like, oh, I'm about to fall asleep. Like, am I asleep? I'm gonna sleep. I'm not gonna sleep. Like the interrupted falling asleep process. It reminds me so much of like the interrupted yawn. Very very similar in my mind. But the reason I was kind of excited when you said you would bring this up is like, yeah, this is one of those things that I'm sure a bunch of people who hear this are going to be like, I thought I was the only one. A lot of people
right.
It's actually quite common. So yeah, back to you.
Yeah, it's absolutely, and also your explanation absolutely makes sense. And how you say like this is so contagious, this is absolutely true. And I'm really curious, like how many people yawns right now. Yeah. Okay. So I think we can move to the questions actually, and we have already a question from Marco. And hi, Marco. So me and my wife sleep in separate rooms because of my insomnia. I awake almost every night early in the morning and cannot sleep anymore. Very common. So sometimes early in the morning, I go next to my wife and I can sleep, but not always. Why is that? So what do you think, Daniel?
Yeah, I would say that mm, there are a lot of circumstances that can lead to us falling asleep sometimes and
Mm-hmm.
not other times.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, it's a kind of an invitation to look at like the basics, the fundamentals, the universal truth when it comes to sleep, which is that like peaceful sleep or falling asleep like easily and sleeping well always comes from like an effortless place where we're not no longer
Mm-hmm.
trying to sleep,
Mm-hmm.
which is a little bit different from like just sleep in general. Like somebody may
Mm-hmm.
say like, well, Daniel, like sleep in itself doesn't require us to be kind of effortless or not try to sleep, which is true. Everybody will fall asleep eventually just by force of like sleep drive, where we're awake long enough, our sleep drive becomes strong and it makes us fall asleep. But we can have a really strong sleep drive and sleep, but we're kind of anxious, we still have sleep efforts, we're worried, etc. So we don't sleep peacefully, right? So sleep will always happen just because of sleep drive, but not necessarily peaceful sleep. And I think what Marco describes here is sometimes going to his wife and falling asleep kind of easily and having a nice sleep. And that to me always, always, always comes from like this effortless place, not trying to sleep. So
Mm-hmm.
how can we explain that this happens sometimes and not other times? To me, it's sort of like this delegation process that sometimes Marco may go next to his wife, and the thought becomes, "Oh, this is so nice. I'm not alone. You know, my wife is next to me. I don't need to do anything now to sleep. You know, there's nothing needed." And then sleep happens. You know, because there's kind of lack of effort. Other times, Marco may go next to his wife and be like, "This worked yesterday. I fell asleep next to my wife yesterday and it worked, but is it going to work today?" And then there's not an effortless place. Like there's like this becomes kind of an attempt to try to fall asleep instead, right? So it's the kind of intent behind our surface behaviors that matter, not like the surface behaviors themselves. So kind of that's where this took me.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, that was my kind of thinking also. Like when Marco wakes up in the middle of the night and he goes to his wife, it's like a safe space for him. So like his brain feels relieved, like, okay, I can sleep here. I'm here safe. But on the other hand, when it doesn't like kind of work, sometimes it's because there might be some expectations. There might be like, okay, it worked last time, so is it going to work again now? So yeah, I totally second what you're saying. Okay, so yeah. Hi, Adelina. I've been experiencing insomnia for a few weeks now, but the weird thing is it came out of nowhere. I would have no problem falling asleep, but then wake 4 or 5 hours and can't go back to sleep. Why is that? I can start here, and yeah. Sometimes we really can't find a reason for our insomnia. We simply just, it feels like we have lost our sleep. And I heard this with clients talking about this just before. And sometimes really we can't find a reason. Simply, let's say in our subconscious, our brain has picked up this thread of not sleeping at night is not safe. And that's why I'm going to keep you alert. So this is really nothing strange or unusual. What matters most is our reaction to it, is our how we perceive our sleeplessness. So if we perceive it like something terrible, oh my goodness, this can't happen, this is terrible, and I don't want to experience this anymore, then we unintentionally might prolong this. But if we feel if we get the education, why is it happening, and that's the reaction, our reactions matters most, and we kind of like find the joy in befriending wakefulness, it's going to be just a period in our life. What do you think, Daniel? Anything to
Yeah,
add?
very similarly, and I would say that it is. I would say it is true that for most people that I connect with that have had a struggle with sleep, there is some type of stressor that it starts with. That's the most
Mm-hmm.
typical story.
Yes.
But I will also say that the story where somebody says, I don't really know. Maybe I was stressed. I don't
Mm-hmm.
even know, but I can't pinpoint a particular trigger or something. That's also not uncommon. As you said, it can be something very subtle. Maybe um who's this again? Adelina. Maybe Adelina had, heard somebody say like, "Oh, it's really important that we sleep," or sleep,
Mm-hmm.
and then just
Mm-hmm.
some subconscious thought can happen that like, what if I don't sleep? What if I wake up and I can't fall? It's something that we don't even are aware of. And that can be kind of the start of it, like very subtle. So I think in conclusion, I just want to say that whenever we know that our experience is nothing strange or unusual, then that alone can be so helpful.
Yeah. So thank you. And I think we can move to Petra. Hi, Petra. Hi, I'm currently going through a speed bump. I've slept for 2 weeks, but now reverted back to my starting point, and I only sleep every other night. Do you have any thoughts or advice? Basically, this is, we call it like a yo-yo phase, and this is a very common experience. And what your experience is this kind of a speed bump, they are very common. And when we go through this journey, it's never linear. There are always ups and downs and ups and downs. So right now, when you find yourself in a speed bump, it's again about our reaction to this kind of a speed bump. And when you find yourself in this kind of yo-yo stage, you might find yourself in predicting, I slept good last night and I'm not going to sleep well tonight. Or you might be really scared of what is coming next. But if you just, again, go to basics and just see it like, okay, maybe I didn't sleep this night just because I was a little bit more worried, and I slept that night because I was willing to experience insomnia and wakefulness a little bit more. This is when this pattern is going to fade, because the less meaning we are going to give to a night, the less attention we are going to give to our sleepless nights, or nights in general, sleep in general. When we are not putting it on the pedestal, and we just bring it down from the pedestal, the more easier it will be. So what do you think, Daniel?
Yeah. I would say that firstly, for Petra, I was gonna say, like, I've been sleeping well for 2 weeks. Petra says that's super nice. I'm really glad, and it sounds like it was after Petra like kind of found our way and found our teaching, and things got easier. And so I would say to Petra, that's very, very nice to hear. It's wonderful, and there's nothing, nothing strange about that, in the sense that, when we start learning and we're starting like understanding what's happening to us, our fear fades. And I think this is a real thing. Like, it shows where education goes. But as you point out, Veronika, there's pretty much always this yo-yo phase where things aren't linear, and this yo-yo phase. And in a particular kind of phenomenon that we see very often is that I sleep one night and then I don't sleep, then I sleep one night, then I don't sleep. And we call that the pendulum pattern, like when there's like a pendulum from one night of sleep, one night don't sleep. And I just want to point that out so people know that again, nothing strange. We even have a name for that. And Veronika already shared how we can meet this pendulum pattern, which is just taking note of what's happening, which is there's nothing mysterious about the night where we slept or didn't sleep. It's not like, because when we have this pendulum pattern, we can think like, oh, I slept last night, I have to figure out why, and then copy that, which leads to some struggle, because then we're trying to achieve sleep, right? Or I didn't sleep, I have to avoid something that I did wrong. Same thing. Like, it becomes this like problem solving that keeps us from sleeping well. So exactly, I just want to emphasize briefly what Veronika said, that when we have this pendulum pattern and we see that, oh, the night I didn't sleep well, I was a bit more anxious, that's all. The night you sleep, it's like, well, I was less worried that time and I didn't try to sleep. And then we kind of reinforce with every night, becomes a reinforcement that there's nothing strange going on, and we can kind of learn from every night. So that's all.
Perfect. Thank you. Now we have a question from Kristen. Hi, Kristen. Hi, guys. I came off SSRI. Couldn't sleep for many weeks, then bits mixed, a lot of no sleep, now hypersleep, mixed no sleep days, less anxious. Is this recovery? So I would like to point out, firstly, you came off the SSRI. Congratulations. Couldn't sleep for many weeks, then bits mix, a lot of no sleep. Now hypersleep mixed with no sleep days. I wanted to point out also, less anxious. This is recovery. Yes. And because, many people think that recovery looks like the more we sleep, the more recovered we are. And recovery starts with being less anxious. It starts with getting more comfortable with sleeplessness. And the more comfortable we are, then the sleep comes easier to us, because basically we are teaching our brain that there is no threat. And when there is no threat, our brain has no reason to send us these hyperarousal, these threat messages. We have to be on the lookout. So I see how difficult this can be, like to have only hypersleep, no sleep, and it is exhausting. But really welcoming this discomfort is like labeling this like this is safe, and when something is safe, there is no threat. So I hope I explained it somehow. What do you think, Daniel?
Yeah. I mean, you pointed out that yes, this is sounds like a recovery for me for 100%.
Mhm.
Absolutely sounds like it. And as you said, for probably most of our students, it is like the anxiety starts to go down a bit as we learn more and understand more. And then after that, after that, we can see like, oh, now sleep is happening easier. Although some people describe it differently. We have also students that say like, first I started sleeping, but my anxiety hadn't really changed that much. Happens too, but both are kind of like, both are common recovery paths. But there were a couple of things I want to point out here. One was the SSRI, which of course, like if we're assuming, of course, that Kristen wanted to come off the SSRI, and that's nice that you did what you wanted to do. Now, what we can think when we come off a medication and then have trouble sleeping is that, oh, this is like rebound insomnia, or this is because I came off the medication. And to me, that is actually never the case, because it is true that if you have been taking some type of like sedating medication, right, that sedation is sort of like, let's say you push a ball underwater, it's kind of holding something down, and when you release that, there's going to be some like kind of activity, like the ball wants to come up, right? So it is true that when we've sedated our nervous system and we remove that sedation, there can be some kind of extra activity there, right? Which yes, can create briefly, or for maybe, I don't know, a couple of nights or something like that, some more wakefulness. But if we're not afraid of being awake, then there is no insomnia, right? So when somebody says I came off this medication and then I had trouble sleeping for weeks, then it's like, again, that has nothing to do with the medication. That's like our response to wakefulness and our fear of wakefulness that keeps that going. And I think that's nice to highlight, because when somebody thinks, oh no, I came off this medication and then this happened, that means I need that medication to sleep or to sleep well, which is never the case. Again, insomnia is always about like a fear. So that's one thing I wanted to point out. And it's this recovery. I think everything else we covered. So yeah, nothing else said.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. And the next question that we have is from Jedi Master. I'm back to school. What worries me is lack of sleep can hinder my performance in college. What can I do about this? I have experienced this with this, because my insomnia started when I actually before my finals in the uni, and while this was an extra challenge, I have passed my exams, and on basically like literally very very little sleep, by 1 or 2 hours, I was going weeks and weeks, and I still studied, and I've managed to study, and it is hard, but there are parts of our brain that the cognitive functions, they just keep going. So you still can keep your memory, even if it will be more challenging as for those who are just, who just feel more refreshed. But you definitely are capable of studying and even like doing well, because we have like students or our clients who just also study at the university, who do really really challenging jobs like surgeons, doctors, performing in the middle of the night, and their performance, it's not different from when they are sleep deprived and when they are not sleep deprived. The doctors, they sleep like really, they work sometimes really long hours, like than Daniel, but sometimes, but their ability to perform is not impaired. So what do you think, Daniel?
Yeah. I think you highlight what I wanted to highlight, which is that there's so many people in our community who had exactly the situation, being in university and had sleep struggles, and actually have done super well. Like I've actually never ever came across anyone who had to like quit university or something like that because of like not sleeping. Now there are like the fear of not sleeping and being in such a fearful state can sometimes lead us to like take a pause from our job or take a pause from studies. But again, this is not what Jedi Master is asking about. The Jedi Master is like, what if I don't sleep enough hours? And you know, we have so much evidence from our channel that the little sleep in itself, it does not lead to you failing your exams or not doing well. In fact, many people in our channel have multiple sleepless nights and like performed super well in their exams. So, and why are we talking about this? It's again because like the more we think, look, I absolutely need to sleep this many hours or I'm not going to do well, that creates a pressure to sleep. And then we have struggle sleeping. On the other hand, when we're like, oh, I see that I could do well even if I sleep little, the pressure to sleep goes down and then we sleep easier. So that's just second.
And one more thing from my side, it's like the hyperarousal is not really helpful with sleep, but hyperarousal is helpful in our performance. So yeah. Great. Okay, we have a couple of thank you notes from Kristen. Thank you for all you do. And anytime. So shall we do a last one?
Sure.
Okay. Here's a question from there's actually quite a few. Actually, a lot of comments are coming in right now. But okay, so let's go on with this one. A series. I have anxious thoughts about becoming a mom with a history of insomnia. I totally hear. So yeah, actually, this is a question for me because I am a mom with a history of insomnia. Had a lot of anxiety around having a baby, and so you know, when I was having already like 5 or 6 years insomnia before I decided to have a baby, and it was like a big decision for me, and I was postponing for a long time to have a baby because I was afraid that I won't be able to take care of my baby. Like, how could I, when sometimes even I wasn't able to take care of myself because I was like literally paralyzed. Not only by sleep deprivation, but also like the fear, not knowing what's going on with me, if I will make it, right? So first of all, the educations will help around insomnia. And secondly, I had all these fears like, is my baby going to be healthy? Is my baby, could my baby inherit insomnia? Or, you know, I had all these kind of scary thoughts, but, you know, I just decided, okay, I'll go for it. Like, who knows? Maybe when I'm pregnant, I will sleep. And the first trimester in both of my pregnancies, I didn't sleep because I believe there was like some hormonal changes and still no education. But I made it, right? And because I don't sleep, it doesn't mean that the baby doesn't sleep. And, you know, babies, they can't have the fear of not sleeping. So definitely, you don't have to worry about if your baby will be healthy. I have 2 healthy boys, knock knock, and if you feel like it's the right time for a baby, and it's only the fear of insomnia that is keeping you from getting pregnant, then go for it. I totally encourage it. So as you will be you'll be pregnant and having a baby, there will be moments that might be difficult and challenging, but you can handle this, and you know where to go for support, which is us. So yeah. Anything to add, Daniel?
You know, just one thing, which is that we actually have a playlist that's called Insomnia. That's really nice, and I just added one more video to that one, which is a talk with Brittany from last week. So the Insomnia playlist might be nice to go.
Yeah, and Brittany is our mama sleep coach. So yeah, and okay, I think wrap up for today. And thank you very much for being here, everyone. Thank you, Daniel, for coming, and I'll see you next time. Bye.